Welcome to this webinar brought to you by Madhya Pradesh Tourism on the occasion of International Yoga Day. Let us start with a small Shanti mantra. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu
निराम
sarve
सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु
ma
मा कश्चित्
bhag bhave.
भवेत्।
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Today, we are looking beyond yoga as a mere asana practice, and we accept it as a means to maintain a healthy lifestyle, reduce stress, prevent disease, and enhance our well-being. This is exactly what motivates us to promote wellness tourism in Madhya Pradesh. Wellness tourism is at a powerful intersection of two large and growing trillion-dollar industries, the tourism industry and the wellness industry. And wellness tourism is an $800 billion global market, which is growing more than twice as fast as general tourism. COVID, with all its resultant implications on physical and mental well-being, has embedded much stress, fear, and anxiety in today's travel. The Madhya Pradesh government wishes to promote wellness tourism, which makes travel an opportunity to maintain and improve our health and well-being. आज विश्व योग दिवस पर मध्य प्रदेश टूरिज्म बोर्ड द्वारा आयोजित इस वेबिनार में मैं प्रदेश के यशस्वी मुख्यमंत्री आदरणीय श्री शिवराज सिंह चौहान जी से विनम्र निवेदन करती हूं कि वे हम सब का मार्गदर्शन करने की कृपा करें. Sir, over to you.
प्रिय बहनों और भाइयों, बेटे और बेटियों, शरीर माध्यम खलु धर्म साधनम, शरीर माध्यम में सब धर्मों का पालन करने का पहला सुख निरोगी काया. शरीर का स्वस्थ रहना, निरोग रहना हर लक्ष्य को प्राप्त करने के लिए आवश्यक है. और शरीर को स्वस्थ रहने के लिए अगर कोई रामबाण है तो वो है योग. हम योग प्राणायाम अगर लगातार करते हैं, निरंतर करते हैं, तो शरीर निरोगी बनता है, बुद्धि प्रखर होती है, हम क्षमतावान होते चले जाते हैं. हजारों साल पुरानी विधाएं हमारी योग, यम नियम आसन प्राणायाम प्रत्याहार ध्यान धारणा समाधि. लेकिन हम अष्टांग योग की बात ना भी करें तो कम से कम रोज योगासन और प्राणायाम जरूर करें. हमारे प्रधानमंत्री श्रीमान नरेंद्र मोदी जी की पहल के कारण अब पूरी दुनिया योग का लाभ उठा रही है. अंतर्राष्ट्रीय योग दिवस है 21 जून, और इस योग दिवस पर तो योग करना ही है, लेकिन संकल्प लेना है कि हम प्रतिदिन योग करेंगे. मैं रोज योग और प्राणायाम करता हूं, योगासन भी करता हूं, प्राणायाम भी करता हूं, सूर्य नमस्कार भी करता हूं. इसलिए स्वयं 24 घंटे में से 18 घंटे काम कर लेता हूं. मुझे कोरोना हुआ, छू के निकल गया क्योंकि मैं प्राणायाम और योग करता था. गंभीर संक्रमण नहीं हुआ. रोग प्रतिरोधक क्षमता बढ़ती है योग से, प्राणायाम से. क्या आप योग के माध्यम से अपने शरीर को निरोग नहीं करना चाहेंगे? आइए, अंतर्राष्ट्रीय योग दिवस पर तो योग करें ही, लेकिन हम प्रतिदिन योग को अपने जीवन में सम्मिलित करके हमारे शरीर को स्वस्थ, निरोग, प्रसन्न बनाएं. अनंत शक्तियों का भंडार है हमारा ये शरीर. जरूरत है उन शक्तियों को सहेजने की और ठीक दिशा में ले जाने की. योग उसका सबसे प्रभावी माध्यम है. रोज योग कीजिए, निरोग रहिए, स्वस्थ और प्रसन्न रहिए। धन्यवाद।
Dhanyavad, sir. Thank you, sir, for your words of wisdom about this ancient practice of yoga. Let us heed our Prime Minister's call to work towards making India a hub of wellness and spiritual tourism. मध्य प्रदेश शासन में पर्यटन, संस्कृति एवं आध्यात्म विभागों की मंत्री आदरणीय सुश्री उषा ठाकुर जी से विनम्र निवेदन है कि वे प्रदेश में पर्यटन तथा वेलनेस एवं स्पिरिचुअल टूरिज्म के महत्व और कल्याण के लिए योग का संकल्पना के बारे में अपने उद्गार व्यक्त करने की कृपा करें। मैडम, ओवर टू यू।
7वां अंतर्राष्ट्रीय विश्व योग दिवस 21 जून। इस मौके पर पर्यटन विभाग द्वारा आयोजित वेलनेस और स्पिरिचुअल टूरिज्म ने योगा पर जो वर्चुअल ये कार्यक्रम रखा, मैं आज के कार्यक्रम के महानिदेशक पर्यटन परिषद भूटान के श्री दोरजी धराधुली को प्रणाम करती हूँ। श्री सोनम वांगचुकी जी, हमारे प्रमुख सचिव आदरणीय शिवशेखर शुक्ला जी और सुश्री विनीता जी। 21 जून भारतीय इतिहास के स्वर्णिम पृष्ठ पर लिखा गया अनूठा दिन है। पूरे विश्व ने योग की प्रासंगिकता को स्वीकार किया और कोविड-19 के इस चुनौतीपूर्ण दौर ने तो सबको उसका अर्थ भली भांति समझा दिया कि जब तक हम मानव जीवन में भौतिकता का, आध्यात्म का, योग का संतुलन नहीं बनाएंगे, तब तक सुखी जीवन नहीं जी पाएंगे। रहे निरोग तो करना होगा योग। आज अंतर्राष्ट्रीय दिवस पर पर्यटन विभाग जिस प्रकार से नवाचार करने के लिए कटिबद्ध है और माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी चाहते हैं कि वेलनेस सेंटर, स्पिरिचुअल टूरिज्म के क्षेत्र में हम सब काम करें और भौतिकता से दग्ध मानवता को सुख, शांति और श्रेष्ठ स्वास्थ्य कैसे मिले, इस दिशा में प्राण से काम में जुट जाए। मध्य प्रदेश भारत का हृदय प्रदेश है। यहाँ की सुरम्य धरा मां नर्मदा की गोद में पली है। अद्भुत स्थान है मध्य प्रदेश, और मध्य प्रदेश का पर्यटन विभाग नवाचार करने के लिए कटिबद्ध है। मेरे सभी साथियों ने विभाग के पचमढ़ी में एक वेलनेस सेंटर स्थापित भी किया है। हम चाहते हैं कि वेलनेस सेंटर्स के साथ हमारे सारे रिसोर्स को हम जोड़ दें। वहां प्राकृतिक चिकित्सा, योग, अन्य उपचार की विधाएं हम पर्यटकों को उपलब्ध कराएं। सत्कार उद्योग में निवेश करने वाले अपने सभी भाई बहनों को मैं सादर आमंत्रित करती हूं कि आप आइए मध्य प्रदेश, हम आपका स्वागत करते हैं, आपको सारी अनुकूल स्थितियां प्रदान कराएंगे, ये हमारा आपसे वादा है। और इस कठिन दौर में तो हम समझ ही चुके हैं। मुझे तो लगता है कि यदि विश्व की समस्याओं का कहीं हल है तो योग के भीतर है। जिसने योग को अपने दैनंदिन जीवन का हिस्सा बनाया, उसका जीवन सकारात्मक ऊर्जा से, प्रसन्नता से, नैतिकता से, सात्विकता से, श्रेष्ठ स्वास्थ्य से जुड़ता चला गया। और मुझे कहते बहुत प्रसन्नता है कि अब वो पाठ्यक्रम का भी हिस्सा बनने जा रहा है। हमारे यहाँ के सभी स्वास्थ्य केंद्रों पर भी हम योग के माध्यम से स्वस्थ रहने की प्रेरणा का कार्यक्रम प्रारंभ करने जा रहे हैं। आप सबका अभिनंदन करती हूँ, आपको धन्यवाद देती हूँ कि इस पावन विषय पर आज आप और हम सब चर्चारत हैं। बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत अभिनंदन।
Dhanyavad, madam. Thank you for that informative talk. As you have rightly pointed out, Madhya Pradesh's spiritual quotient is indeed unparalleled. We hope that in the coming years, more and more people visit our amazing state, which has something to offer to every traveler. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce you to the speakers of today's webinar. First up, we have Mr. Shekhar Shukla, who joined the Indian Administrative Service in 1994 and is presently Principal Secretary, Tourism, Culture and Public Relations, Government of Madhya Pradesh. He is also Managing Director, Madhya Pradesh Tourism Board. He has an MTech in Nuclear Engineering from IIT Kanpur and has served in several important positions in areas as diverse as rural development, livelihood generation, and of course, tourism, culture, and heritage. Mr. Shukla has visited various countries in the course of his career, places such as Japan, Sweden, Argentina, to learn about the social practices in these places. And he is the recipient of several awards, including the Stockholm Partnership Award, the Manthan Award for Digital Empowerment, and under his leadership, Ujjain won Best District Award from the Government of India for rehabilitation of differently abled people. Sir, it is indeed my pleasure to welcome you to this panel, and I look forward to hearing your views.
Thank you very much, Vinita ji. First of all, let me thank Honorable Chief Minister Sahab, Honorable Minister, Tourism, Culture and Spirituality, Sushri Usha Thakur ji, to have very kindly addressed us and set up the tone for today's webinar. Let me also take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Sonam Mangchuk, Mr. Dorji Dhadul, who are going to add different flavors to today's discourse, make it more interesting for all the viewers. Let me also compliment every proud Indian on this 7th edition of International Yoga Day. Friends, today, importance of yoga need not be overemphasized. Post-pandemic, everybody in the world has come to recognize yoga to be a very, very effective ancient Indian technique of taking care of one's health. Yoga it comes from a Sanskrit word yoga, means addition or to unite. And this is our culture in India, prevalent from time immemorial, to practice this yoga of uniting oneself with the cosmos, oneself with the rest of the world, to eliminate that feeling of duality and feel that unique proposition of oneness with the whole world. And today, the whole world has come to recognize this Advait or non-duality principle. And the entire frontline scientific research is reaching where the principles of oneness start. This pandemic has also exposed the dark sides of planetary excesses which the mankind has committed in the last 200 years, especially post 1950. The scientific advancement and the feeling of, the richness and the consumerism has led to its own perils. This pandemic has very clearly brought to the fore this discourse on sustainability, on inclusive and regenerative tourism as well. Now the evolved travelers, they are moving away from luxury to sort of authentic and transformative experiences, which are rustic, raw, and very closer to nature. And when it comes to nature, Madhya Pradesh is really very uniquely positioned. We have highest forest cover in the country, in any state. More than 1/3 of our geographical area is covered under forests. And this dense forest cover has led to its own charming and exciting panorama of wildlife. Today, we are not only a tiger state when it comes to tiger population, we are also leopard state, we are also alligator state, and our forest areas are blooming with wildlife. And Madhya Pradesh very assiduously has preserved its natural assets. So anybody who comes from outside and travels in Madhya Pradesh goes to the lap of nature. This traveling experience itself is very spiritual in nature. When it comes to spirituality, we all know that we boast of having one of the ancient cities still existent called Ujjain. Earlier it used to be called Ujjaini. This is the second most ancient city after Kashi, which is also seat of Lord Mahakal. This is also seat of Maharaja Vikramaditya, who started Vikram Samvat. And Ujjain is also known as Greenwich of India. Time starts from there. Lord Mahakal is the deity of time. And since Ujjain is very uniquely positioned and the Tropic of Cancer passes over it, so the calculation of time is most scientific from Ujjain. We also boast of having very sacred cities and towns like Amarkantak, from where our sacred Namrada originates and crisscrosses the whole state and goes off to Gujarat. On the banks of river Namrada, we have other religious and ancient towns. Omkareshwar is another place of Jyotirlinga. Omkareshwar is also a place where Adi Shankaracharya came all the way from Kerala at the age of 8 years, traversed more than 3,000 kilometers on foot. And he met there with his guru, got initiated, and propounded the philosophy of Advaita, non-duality, and re-established the tenets of Sanatana Dharma. You move further, you reach Maheshwar, another very important historical town. So not only spirituality, but otherwise also history has laid itself bare in the different kind of archaeological wonders which exist in Madhya Pradesh. Some of them you might be aware of. Khajuraho, Sachi, Bhimpatka. These are 3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. 2 more have been just added as under the tentative list. One of them is Satpura National Park, another is Bhiraghat on the banks of river Narmada in Jabalpur. So the entire conclusion which I wanted to make here is Madhya Pradesh is a very sought after location now for travelers to come and rejuvenate themselves. Madhya Pradesh provides an opportunity for travelers to come here to reconnect with themselves. We also have got a very active and vibrant wellness policy from the government of Madhya Pradesh, whereby we invite the private stakeholders to come and invest in Madhya Pradesh to create state-of-the-art wellness centers, to provide state-of-the-art Ayurveda, Panchkarma, and other wellness-related activities and services. Already there are many centers which have come up, and people are coming from far-flung places to get benefited. So Madhya Pradesh, with its repository of natural capital, exotic culture, and heritage, imbued with folklore and mystical charms, offers a very unique proposition for travelers. And we in Madhya Pradesh are committed to package it all in the shape of responsible tourism, which is going to be the way forward. Now onwards, we have all to be responsible, whether as a traveler or as a hospitality service provider. We need to be more careful while we deal with the nature. While we increase the footfall in our states by way of enhancing tourism, we need to see and check that carbon footprints are reduced. We need to take care of our destinations in a proper manner. And here we have a lot to learn from Ladakh, which Mr. Sonam Wangchuk will be telling us, and Mr. Dorji, who will be telling us about Bhutan's tourism policy and how they are positioning their country in the world to provide a unique kind of immersive experience. So I won't take much time. I thank one and all for joining today's webinar, and I especially welcome my guest speakers today who are authorities in their own domain. We all are longing to listen to them. Thank you very much. Once again, very, very happy and meaningful International Yoga Day to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was indeed very interesting to know about the newly launched wellness tourism policy, and we look forward to hearing more about it soon. Now, coming to Mr. Sonam Wangchuk, who today is a household name not only in India but all over the world. He's a mechanical engineer by education, and soon after he finished his studies, he founded SecMall, which aimed to bring reforms in the education system in Ladakh. Then he launched Operation New Hope, a triangular collaboration of government, village communities, and civil society to bring about social reforms. He is also closely involved with tourism in Ladakh and initiated a project called Farm Stays Ladakh, which provides tourists the option to stay with local families. Mr. Wangchuk is the founder of Himalayan Institute of Alternatives and is closely involved with the movement to adopt simple lifestyles and move towards a slow life. He has won several awards, including the prestigious Ramon Magsaysay Award, the GQ Man of the Year Award for Social Enterprise, the Rolex Award for Enterprise, and he is also the recipient of the Governor's Medal by the Jammu and Kashmir state government. Mr. Wangchuk, it is really indeed a pleasure and a privilege to welcome you to this discussion. And we would like to hear from you about what Madhya Pradesh can do to harness its immense capacity of soft power, of wellness and spirituality. Over to you, Mr. Wangchuk.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vinita, and warm greetings to all of you from the cold mountains of the higher Himalayas. Wonderful to connect to you all on this very special day today, the International Yoga Day, which is about wellness. It's an amazing achievement that our leaders have been able to make yoga, featured at the global stage as a source of wellness. And I think the rest of the country should follow it up by offering it in various forms. For example, wellness tourism. And I'm so impressed that Madhya Pradesh is taking the needed steps to make it practically available to the world. And nothing better than promoting, such beautiful offerings that this nation has for centuries, for millennia. And today it's time that we both benefit the people of the world by bringing such wellness experiences through tourism, and also at the same time bring income and livelihoods to so many people at their doorsteps. I am a great, fan of the phenomena of tourism. I've seen how tourism can bring income and livelihood to people in remote areas who are otherwise disadvantaged at their very doorsteps without them having to leave their places and, move to big cities. I'm a living example of that. I have benefited from this phenomena of tourism immensely right since my childhood. Born in a very tiny remote village in remote Ladakh, my family was one of the early beneficiaries of when tourism opened to Ladakh in mid-70s. And apart from economy that helped my family, through tourism, through homestay tourism at that stage, my education, I would say more than half my education I owe to people from around the world coming to explore my part of the world, and they would learn a little about my part of the world, but I would dig a lot about their parts of the world. So these travelers for me were, moving atlases that could tell me about the rest of the world, the amazing world. Mind you, I did not go to any schools till 9 years of age, but this was my school, this was my university, to meet people from different parts of the world. So I'm a great admirer of tourism as a beneficiary and later as an actor in the tourism industry, whether it was to guide and educate tourists about the do's and don'ts of a place like fragile Ladakh, or in tourism policies of the Hill Council. So I'm really happy today that you all in Madhya Pradesh are, promoting wellness on this day of wellness, where globally people are now looking up to yoga, looking up to India, and you are rising to the occasion to make it actually possible. I think tourism can often be negative. It can leave a lot of negative impact also when it becomes just simple, plain mass tourism of, taxis and selfies and so on. I've seen it firsthand in Ladakh. But if we gently give it a nice twist to make it exploration and travel of the kind where people are genuinely interested in other places, other people, and learn and share their own lives, that's the most beautiful form of travel. I would call it a kind of pilgrimage, really. Pilgrimage of the planet, pilgrimage of the people, of nature. This is what makes me so happy that you seem to be promoting there. We try that in Ladakh, but sometimes when a place becomes overly touristic, it becomes a problem. So I would appeal to people to be original and not just follow the beaten tracks of this place or that place, but rather explore as an explorer, as a traveler, various places, and educate and enlighten ourselves about this wonderful planet and the people and other living beings that happen to be on this planet at the same time as us, which is an amazing, unique, circumstance that does not normally happen. It's amazing to be sharing this planet with the people that we see, and we should value it. And that's the kind of tourism I would like to see, not the kind of tourism we have been seeing in recent past in Ladakh, where tourism becomes itself so hectic. You run from place to tick mark the list of been there, done that, take selfies, run around, that I think people need a break from this break that your travel is. So I really don't want tourism to become something that becomes itself so stressful that you would need a break. So therefore, relaxed exploratory travel is what we should all be promoting. And in this, I think Ladakh and Madhya Pradesh can almost become like sister destinations. You are so interesting, so pleasant in the winter months and the autumn and spring, whereas in the hot summer months, maybe Ladakh is a place where you all can even come, because people in places that host people also need a break. Same with people in Ladakh who could come over and have a great, inter-exploration of this planet. So that's how I think tourism can be made a therapeutic, almost a therapeutic experience for people, relieving us of the stress of our lives, our hectic lives in the big cities. And there needs to be a important twist in that, and I would appeal to all the people in who are associated with travel industry to present it as a relaxing therapeutic experience rather than just another race to be there and bring back just selfies. So life is not a race, life is a journey. It must be enjoyed, every moment of it. And that's where our kind of travel, which goes beyond mass tourism. And Bhutan, of course, is a very beautiful, another example of that. We must all promote that kind of sane tourism. Otherwise, I think the planet gets as much or even more disturbed and hurt by mass blind tourism. It's a time where even the planet needs a break. As we have seen, the life before the pandemic had become so crazy, so fast, if you like, but in a very sad way fast, because if you are on a path that you are not sure about, slower is better than faster. You'll perhaps meet your doom faster if you don't know where you're going. So it's time for the planet also to rethink about progress, about modernization. I'm sure it's in nature's way of giving us that break to rethink our future, because although I have great sympathies for people who were affected by the pandemic, lost their near and dear ones, but really, if we put it in perspective, we haven't lost much. We have lost hardly 2 to 3% of those affected or infected, which would be maybe 3 million people or so. But in our planet's bigger picture, just from 1972 till 2012, WWF says that we lost 52% of our wildlife. 52% of the entire wildlife was washed away because of our lifestyle in just 40 years or so. Later, WWF came up with another report which said 58% is lost now. Same is the case with our forests. So definitely we need to rethink and simplify our lives and lifestyles. And what better than Madhya Pradesh, which not only offers this for the people of the world, but itself is a great repository and a great host of all these wildlife sanctuaries and national parks. I'm amazed. I was lucky to be there to pay my respect to the stupas at Sanchi long ago. It's time that I come as a pilgrim to your state and relax myself and make the planet better. It is really, really important that we simplify our lives and promote simpler, slower lives. There was a time when we all believed in just speed, and as I said, speed without direction is disaster. So this whole planet, maybe places like Ladakh, Madhya Pradesh and Bhutan, can become a message for the planet to rethink, reflect, and move at the pace that can be sustained by the planet. And that's exactly why we in Ladakh saw the need to give an SOS call to the world to live simpler lives, which does not damage rest of our siblings in the wild, while adding more and more wealth to our own treasures and cupboards and wardrobes. Imagine a kind of lifestyle where income and wealth is considered adding a 41st pair of shoes to your wardrobe. What will a 41st pair of shoes do? I keep telling these great economists that it doesn't make sense that you define being successful to having 4 houses and 20 pairs of trousers and 40 pairs of shoes. Well, your own economics doesn't support that. if many of you would know, in economics, there is a beautiful theory called the law of diminishing returns. This is almost like a spiritual touch to economics, but unfortunately, very few seem to be paying heed to this. Law of diminishing returns says that a good or a product gives you maximum satisfaction when you get it for the first time. Without a pair of shoes, your life can be very harsh and hard. So the first pair of shoes gives you immense satisfaction. But the second pair of shoes, not so much. Third, really little. Fourth, fifth, sixth, hardly any. And our economic model of modernization and progress has been to add the 41st pair of shoes, which doesn't even touch us. And yet, if we tweak a little bit, buy the 41st pair of shoes, but not for ourselves, and give it to someone for whom it becomes the first pair of shoes, that's when economics really works, because that person will draw maximum satisfaction out of that, your 41st pair of shoes, which becomes his or her first pair of shoes. So we simplify life so that other beings, other people equally get, a full satisfying life. Same with our wild siblings, as I said. And that's why in Ladakh we said, because of all these complicated lifestyles, which has made our air unbreathable, water undrinkable, soil untouchable, let's not just solve our own mountain problems with ice stupas and solar heated buildings, but rather appeal to the world as an SOS message. And what better than Gandhiji's anniversary? So on 150th anniversary of Gandhiji, we started the I Live Simply movement to appeal to the world to slow down, simplify, and enjoy as you cross this journey rather than race that life should be. And therefore, our effort was to give this message to the world to please live simply in the big cities, so that we in the mountains and those at the seashores who are drowning because of rising sea levels can simply live. Please live simply so we may simply live. That's the spirit that tourism should also be guided, I feel, of not doing more and more, but doing deeper, more profound interactions with places, people, nature, and wild siblings, as I keep saying. So I really hope and wish that Madhya Pradesh, Ladakh, like Bhutan, become a message to the world that it's not in the speed of things, it's not in the number of places touched and gone, but it's in the quality interactions and the uplifting experience for self and for the hosts that we can bring to make this planet a better place, to make people in our country a better place. I think tourism or visiting each other's places and regions is an amazing mechanism of redistributing well-being, wealth, and awareness and education. As I said, I was a beneficiary of this, and I hope that more and more of our people do not just become these, beaten path tourists, but rather become explorers, travelers, pilgrims of this planet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wangchuk. You have touched upon several points, including over-tourism, the need to simplify. And now we would like to play a short and beautiful video to introduce our next speaker. beautiful video just makes us all want to pack our bags, isn't it? It's my pleasure now to welcome Mr. Dorji Dradul, who is the Director General of the Tourism Council of Bhutan. He has served as Governor of Gaza District and has worked in various capacities in the fields of agriculture, research, policy, and development. As the Director General of the Tourism Council, his vision is to take Bhutan to the top of the world in tourism. He hopes that the journeys that visitors make to Bhutan will help them reflect on the importance of living in harmony with nature and make them champions of sustainable and responsible tourism, which Mr. Wangchuk was just talking about a little bit earlier. And Mr. Dradul is a lifetime supporter of Bhutan's sustainable tourism policy of high value, low volume, which is a very interesting one. And we're looking forward to hearing more about that from you, sir. Apart from all of this, Mr. Dradul is also a writer. He's published a number of articles and a novel as well. And he was awarded the Best Professional for Destination Marketing by Patwa. Sir, we would like to hear from you first about how high value, low volume model would work. You've adopted this very successfully for Bhutan. So what can Madhya Pradesh learn from your projects? Also, Madhya Pradesh was the first state in the country to introduce a happiness department. And as Bhutan is known as the happiest place on earth, what suggestions do you have for us to incorporate happiness into our tourism policy? Over to you, sir, Mr. Dorji Dradul.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you very much, Ms. Vinita. Your Excellency, the Shivraj Singh Chauhan, Honorable Chief Minister, Madhya Pradesh, Her Excellency Sushri Usha Thakur, Honorable Minister, Department of Tourism, and Honorable Sheo, Shekhar, Shukla, IS Principal Secretary and Managing Director of Tourism Board, Madhya Pradesh, our distinguished panelist, Mr. Sonam Wangchuk, and of course yourself, the distinguished moderator, Ms. Vinita. And ladies and gentlemen, Namaskar and Kuzu Zampala from Bhutan. A very good afternoon to you all. I would also like to join the earlier speaker in wishing everyone a very happy International Day of Yoga. And I'm also happy to inform that in Bhutan, also with an exemplary initiative and support by the Embassy of India in Bhutan, we are also joining the world in not only celebrating the 7th International Day of Yoga, but also, more importantly, in acknowledging with gratitude to the great leaders of the great nation India for this priceless gift of yoga to the world. Let me also take this opportunity in congratulating to the government of Madhya Pradesh for organizing this very relevant and important webinar, of course titled Madhya Pradesh as the destination for the wellness and spiritual tourism. And I also humbly offer my gratitude to the organizer here for giving us this opportunity. And it is indeed a great honor for us to be participating in this webinar amongst these esteemed dignitaries and the luminary panelists. But however, I must confess that I may not have much new thing to add to the participants here, but more importantly, actually, I hope to learn. And in fact, I've already learned from the earlier speakers. I've already learned a lot, and I hope to continue to learn from you all. So at the very outset, actually, again, I'd like to take this opportunity in wishing on this very auspicious day of International Day of Yoga to the state of Madhya Pradesh in becoming in this soonest possible time. I think they are already one as a globally sought after destination for wellness and spirituality. As we know that as we have been informed by the earlier speaker, especially the Honorable Principal Secretary, in his remarks, he already informed how endowed Madhya Pradesh is in terms of growing into acclaimed destination of wellness and well-being. So I like to take this opportunity in wishing the very, very best. And coming at the government level, I believe Bhutan and India have a huge potential to develop and support each other in wellness and spiritual tourism, mainly due to the close ties that we have between our two countries and the rich spiritual heritages that we share. And also like to share that for Bhutan, India was and will be always our most popular ex-country pilgrimage destination, both for the Buddhists and for the Hindus. And I also like to share with you all that Bhutanese have now also started to venture beyond the traditional popular destination in India, especially in Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, mainly on the Buddhist circle. And now we hear that people are also, Bhutanese are already start traveling even beyond that, even to Madhya Pradesh. I have already met some people who have been there, especially because of the attraction like the world famous UNESCO heritage, Sanchi Stupa and others, which have been already highlighted by the Principal Secretary. And also, this is again another information that I'd like to share what is happening between India and Bhutan. Quite recently, actually, on the Vesak Day, the government of India and the International Buddhist Confederation have jointly conferred this year's Vaisak Saman Prasastriya Patra, which is the Vesak citation of honor upon a Bhutanese. His name is Rashukarma Ura, who happens to be the president of the Center for Bhutan Studies and Gross National Happiness Research, a well-known Buddhist scholar. And this prestigious annual award recognizes researchers, scholars, institutions working in Buddhism and related research findings and disseminations of Buddhist teachings. So it is indeed a great honor for Bhutan. Then also, in fact, just the other day, coinciding with the birth anniversary of another great Buddhist teacher, Guru Padmasambhava, who is supposed to have come from India in the 7th century. And he's presently considered as the second Buddha in our country. And yesterday we celebrated his birth anniversary. And coinciding with that, Government of India gifted a very special 3.3 feet tall, weighing about 200 kgs bronze cast Lord Buddha statue to Bhutan. So there are so many things already, significant things happening between our two countries, including on spiritual subjects. So we see there's a huge opportunity to work even at the country level, and for us, those who are working in tourism sector, I think it is for us to take this advantage of this conducive and the cordial environment that we have between our two countries. And in this regard, in fact, I like to again congratulate Madhya Pradesh for taking this initiative. I mean, this is kind of the initiative that at our level, tourism sector level, that we can initiate and start building up this synergy and for the benefit of both the destinations. And now coming specifically to your question, actually on the theme of this webinar itself, on the wellness and this spiritual tourism, and also some of the questions, Ms. Vinita, you have just asked, I'll try to cover together. Now, globally, as you have also highlighted, there's a huge growing industry, especially in the wellness and well-being tourism. And even in terms of figure, you already said about 800 billion USD is there in this wellness tourism industry. But for us, especially for Bhutan, I would also like to point out here, more than the economy, what we see, especially in the wellness and spiritual tourism, is the pursuance and the attainment of this wellness and spirituality for the humankind will have a direct and positive impact on the wellness of our physical and biological environment, which I think Mr. Sonomonchu has highlighted very eloquently. Thereby, when we pursue this will be basically contributing positively to the global efforts in combating the climate change crisis that we are in. And therefore, we feel that pursuance of wellness and spiritual tourism will go a long way in the much needed, in fact, quite urgently, in the enhancement of the wellness of our world and our planet Earth. And now this narrative has become even more pronounced with the COVID-19, reinforcing the relevance and the importance of the wellness and spiritual tourism as a critical component of all destinations planned for recovery and this restart of tourism post-COVID-19. And of course, Bhutan was always there actually in this area. In fact, Bhutan's tourism practice, guided by, which you have already highlighted, the high value, low volume tourism policy was there for last 50 years. In fact, this policy started at the same time when Bhutan started to open up for tourism. And in fact, actually, I need not elaborate much. Basically, Mr. Sonamochi, when he described the way tourism should be functioning, is basically what our high value, low volume tourism is all about, actually. So this is so because our development efforts, again, as some of you all might know, is that we are pursuing a different type of development approach here. It is an alternative development approach we call to the gross domestic product development, and we term this as gross national happiness. So our development philosophy is a gross national happiness, and which was actually envisioned and gifted to the world, to Bhutan, by our beloved fourth king, His Majesty King Jigme Singye Wangchuk, in the early 70s. It was in early 70s, and in fact, it was at more or less at the same time when this tourism policy was also propounded by His Majesty himself, the high value, low policy. So these are very much related. So basically, in other words, what we mean by gross national happiness development philosophy is we are pursuing a development with values. So therefore, GNH basically pursues an objective that is balanced between material and non-material. So in material, economic, non-material, we are talking of wellness and spirituality. So it is a balance in the middle approach to development. So everything that we do in Bhutan was supposed to be guided by this development philosophy. So let me now go a little bit more on the tourism. So when we talk about our tourism story, we are also talking about the story of our brand Bhutan, especially when it comes to tourism. And now in tourism, just to go share with you all, Bhutan was actually quite a latecomer in the world of tourism, but was at the same time very cautious. We are late, but at the same time very cautious. Now, just our Department of Tourism was established in 1971. And it was only after 3 years, in 1974, that Bhutan started to have its first tourists. So therefore, the department, under the directives of the government, took 3 years to prepare. What type of tourism we should be pursuing. So from day one itself, we have been so cautious. So, and that decision was that from the day one, we will be pursuing a policy for tourism called high value, low volume. Now, high value, low volume, as guided by the gross national happiness development philosophy, has actually wellness and happiness of both the tourists and the host as its important element, while ensuring the principle of holistic sustainability, that is environmentally, ecologically, socially, economically viable, and of course, culturally acceptable. So high value, low volume, basically it encompasses all this. And also to explain a little bit more, high value, low volume tourism is also equally about ensuring the exclusive, immersive experience. In other words, again, wellness and well-being by practicing quality over quantity, and less is more business model. Again, Mr. Sonamochi has touched on this. So it has, I was very kind of inspired to hear him talk about our policy, tourism policy, without actually saying that policy. So yes, so high value, low volume again pursues an objective that is beyond revenue and receipts, thereby foregoing the quick returns that can be received from mass tourism. And today we know that it is proven beyond doubt that again this policy of high value, low volume can achieve revenue. If you are actually going for revenue, we can still achieve this revenue by being getting less tourists. So this is another point. And then now in the wake of COVID-19, we know that many destinations are already looking for an alternative tourism model, as people are worldwide are reflecting on their lives, what truly matters to them, and most likely seeks ways to improve their physical and mental wellness and well-being. And some are already looking up to our model, actually. Of course, I'm not trying to blow our trumpet, but there are already people, destinations looking up to our model as an alternative or a new model for tourism, especially post-COVID-19. Now, today, after half a century, to realize that this policy of high value, low volume which was founded in early 70s, is becoming even more relevant, we are actually really amazed and at the farsightedness and the fortitude of our kings to design and decide on such a unique tourism policy of high value, low volume. Amid then, even our king was actually not really supported in the sense that by the so-called the gross domestic product economies. Ms. Vinita, am I doing okay with the time? Sorry, I will try to.
Please go on. We are very keen to listen to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So 50 years ago, I mean, that kind of a decision being made when actually mass tourism, over tourism was not an issue, when environmental issues were not really there. But then this policy was such far-sighted. And in fact, I just wanted to again to share with you all the profoundness of this tourism policy has been aptly captured in a recent royal address. I quote, Our Majesty, His Majesty the King. It's 2 o'clock. When Bhutan opened to foreign tourists in 1970s, our leadership resisted the temptations to harness the quick fortunes from mass tourism and instead was present to formulate a visionary policy of high value, low volume tourism. The wisdom of our tourism policy has led to the emergence of strong brand Bhutan, an exclusive destination, unquote. So therefore, I believe the tourism policy of high value, low volume is the biggest factor in our brand Bhutan. So when we are talking about branding our tourism destination, I personally believe that this policy has the biggest role actually. And today Bhutan is known as an exclusive destination. Whatever we are known for, I feel this policy had a big role to play. And I think it will be of interest to you all how do we actually practice this? Okay, the policy is good. I mean, which I have highlighted, which even Sonamochi has highlighted. But how do we actually practice this? Now, we actually practice this, put into practice, real practice is under number of strategies. But one of the key strategies in putting this policy of high value, low volume into practice is, again, we have a unique tourism system, which is commonly referred to as a minimum daily package rate. Now, by this system, a tourist coming to Bhutan has to come through a Bhutanese tour operator. So no tourists can come without, I mean, on their own, like in some other destination. They have to have a counterpart with a Bhutanese local tour operator, and it can be worked through their own tour operator in their country. That is one. Secondly, they have to already agree on the itinerary. Of course, after coming to Bhutan, they can change their itinerary, but to start with, they need to agree on a schedule or an itinerary, and then they have to pay their tariff in advance. Before coming to Bhutan, as a tourist, they have to pay their cost, and that cost is based on what I've just highlighted, minimum daily package rate. And as of today, the rate is USD $250 per person per day. So this is the total package, and that has to be paid in advance to send to Bhutan through our tour operator. And then only upon getting that, then we issue the visa. I mean, of course, that is not only the criteria. Of course, other requirements, if there are any, also needs to be fulfilled. Now, again, I need to clarify here, this $250, but most people tend to misunderstand that maybe it is just a cost for your visa fee. It is not. In fact, this $250 take care of everything. A minimum of 3-star food and accommodation. A guide will be there at all times. Dedicated chauffeured SUV will be there for all times during their stay in the country, and some other services are taken care. More interestingly or more importantly, again, that is the highlight is of that $250, $65 goes directly to the government. The rest goes to the tour operator to meet those expenses. 65 goes to the government exchequer as a sustainable development fee, and which again we feel maybe we are the only country that is actually levying the sustainable development fee to a tourist. So tourists in a way are directly or indirectly participating in the sustainable development of not only Bhutan but for the global community. So these are kind of main tools that actually help us in implementing this high value, low volume. Now, high value, basically giving this high value experiences, immersive experiences to the tourists. And volume, basically we are saying we need to be mindful of the volume. We cannot take, indiscriminately. We need to look at our carrying capacity, and based on our carrying capacity, the arrival numbers can go up and go down. So this is what we are trying to do. So this is basically the main tool that we get our high value, low volume tourism, which is basically again a sustainable tourism that is being implemented. And another thing I just wanted to share, especially with relevance to our neighboring countries, especially India, Bangladesh, and Maldives. Now, we have been over the years, just pre-COVID, Bhutan started to already get the pressure of the so-called over tourism or mass tourism. Of course, we have not really experienced that, but we started to get pressure. And now, and one of the reasons why we started to face this is because we have been not really able to strongly implement our tourism policy. So we had some kind of a shortcoming. That is one. The second is we were already getting, again, criticized by others, saying that Bhutan's tourism policy, which I already explained, is discriminatory, meaning that only looks like Bhutan is going after only the rich tourists, and which we always try to say, which we don't anyway agree, but others try to say this. Now, because to address these two cohesion issues, we started to now again rework on this and trying to further reinforce our tourism policy of high value, low volume, basically trying to move towards having one tourist. Now, why I mentioned these three countries, India, Bangladesh, and Maldives, the tourists coming from these three countries pre-COVID, they didn't have to go through this, the MDPR. They didn't have to go through this minimum daily package rate. They can come on their own and they are not regulated. And so in the process, we are being criticized for discriminatory because they are on their own and they are not being looked after by our people here. Whereas those people, tourists who are paying MDPR, they are very much looked after. They are almost like a VIP. I mean, as I've highlighted earlier, for the money that they're paying, they're getting a VIP treatment. They are guided. So therefore, the other tourists are left unguided. So they feel that we are discriminating. So, and also this was already impacting our tourism policy. Therefore, now we have started to mainstream this. We are already trying to start, but in the due course of time, we are seeing Bhutan will have only one type of tourist, regardless of their nationality. So this is kind of the policy objectives that we are pursuing, and we have already started to take the process forward by mainstreaming even the tourists coming from these three countries. Of course, we will not immediately start charging them the same MDPR. To start with, we are now going to start the levy of a minimum concessional SDF of about 1,200 INR equivalent, maybe around $16 per person per tourists coming from India, those tourists coming from India. Now, again, here, since we are so close with India, I just again wanted to highlight, this is just for leisure tourists, but any other mechanisms, systems that is already in operations, like for business, for officials, these things doesn't apply. It is still the status quo, but this new regime of concessional sustainable tourism will apply to these tourists from these three countries, only for leisure tourism. So these are some things that I just wanted to share. And now I think I'd like to conclude here. I think I've taken more than time, but let me also take this opportunity in wishing our Honorable Tourism Minister and Principal Secretary of Madhya Pradesh in realizing the goal of making Madhya Pradesh the most sought after tourism destination for wellness and spiritual tourism. And in fact, if India does well, if Madhya Pradesh does well, Bhutan is definitely going to benefit. So, and also I like to express here, I think earlier before the start, we had some informal conversation earlier, and in pursuance to that, I again wanted to submit that we really look forward to, consider this webinar as our starting point to take forward this association engagement with the Madhya Pradesh state for developing our tourism in our two countries. So thank you very much, and touch the leg.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dradul. in a short span of time, you have actually taught us a lot about what high value, low volume can do for a country's tourism policy. Now, I would like to ask Mr. Shekhar Shukla to speak with both the other panelists. If you have any questions, sir, or if there is any issue that you want them to address, over to you, sir.
Well, for the benefit of all, everyone who's connected with us today, I just would like to ask Mr. Sonam Wangchuk, what is your connection with Phunsukh Wangdu?
Not much, really. I just like to say I'm not Phunsukh Wangdu. I've had to say that almost 365 times a year to say I'm Sonam Wangchuk and I'm not Phunsukh Wangdu. And I have my own life and a path that I follow. Just that, really. But yeah, good messages are good messages. And I'm happy that there are good things that came out of the film.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask Mr. Dorji, what happens to this SDF which you collect? Does it have a very specific way of spending towards, how do you really spend that money which you collect out of SDF which you levy?
Yes, thank you, sir. So actually this SDF from this MTPR goes directly to the government exchequer and mainly to fund the sustainable development initiatives of the rural government. So this is one is, of course, the budget is going to help to us doing all these activities. Otherwise, we wanted to pass this message to our tourists that you have to be a mindful tourist, basically, if you come to Bhutan, and because fees are already being levied on you to take care of the sustainability of this. So these are actually two objectives, but basically the government uses for the sustainable development initiatives.
Would request हमारी मंत्री जी कुछ अगर प्रश्न पूछना चाहें सोनम जी से या दौर जी से, उसके बाद विनीता जी जनरल प्रश्न लेंगी।
जी, प्रश्न तो मैं तो धन्यवाद देना चाहती हूँ सोनम जी को, जिस प्रकार से उन्होंने सादगी और संतुष्टि के लिए बात कही। मैं बहुत धन्यवाद करती हूँ। और शेखर जी, वो तो आप ही अपन तय करें कि कैसे मध्य प्रदेश और भूटान लद्दाख मिलके पर्यटन की दिशा में और क्या काम कैसे कर सकते हैं, बढ़ा सकते हैं आगे।
जी बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
थैंक यू
सोनम जी और दोरजी जी के साथ में हम लोग अलग से भी बात करेंगे और देखेंगे कि कैसे हम दोनों जगहों से ज़्यादा और लर्निंग्स ले सकें और मध्य प्रदेश के टूरिज्म की जो अब हमने ओरिएंटेशन करनी शुरू की है वेलनेस की दिशा में उसे हम कैसे और प्रभावी बनाएं। गवर्नमेंट लेवल पे भी जो पॉलिसीज की आवश्यकता होगी वो भी आपकी सहायता से हम लोग उसको इम्प्लीमेंट कर पाएंगे। विनीता जी, ओवर टू यू any questions from the audience?
A little time. There are a couple of very interesting and important questions which are coming in from the audience. The first question is from Mr. P.V. Giri, chairman of the Windflower Group of Resorts. He's asking, what incentives can a hotelier expect? And to what extent will it be easy to establish a business in Madhya Pradesh for hospitality? Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Just to tell you that Madhya Pradesh has got a very unique investment policy in general for the hospitality sector, and especially curated for wellness, creation of wellness centers in the state. We have identified a number of land parcels nearby important tourism destinations, and we keep on offering them to private investors time to time. We keep on putting out bids for them. We have kept a very small, minimum value for these parcel of lands per hectare basis. And then the bid is done in a transparent manner. Anybody who wants to bid out for a particular hospitality project can take these land parcels, and one can also visit the land parcels before investing. And then once you invest, either by way of acquiring a government land parcel through this mechanism, or if you have any other private land parcel at your disposal, You can create anything which serves to hospitality sector. We have got a wide range of activities listed down in the policy, which is available on our website. We offer different levels of capital subsidies and also operational subsidies on different kind of investments. The subsidy level varies from say 15% to 40%. And in general, if I tell you about the wellness for setting up wellness centers, the subsidy level is to the tune of 30% capital subsidy on an investment of 10 to 50 crores. And if it's a branded investment, a branded person coming in, then we also provide 20% to 30% of additional operational subsidies for first few years of operation. And for ultra mega projects, which are more than 100 crores of investment, we have walk-in kind of a system where anybody who wants to set up a project related to hospitality industry in the state can just walk in with this proposal, and we give go ahead in no time. So these are some of the features, small thing which I wanted to share through this question also. And one, if you want to have detailed discussion, we are always available. Our officers are at your disposal, and you can visit our website and try to know more about our investment policy. We also have got a number of heritage properties listed out, and we keep on offering them through transparent bidding procedures to invest in the heritage properties and create good hospitality, good hotel or resorts over there. A number of good investors have come in. Operators like Mahindra Holidays, Orange County, and Waxpol. So many of them good service providers. They are already working in the state with us. So we have got a very inviting and very lively policy. We also do hand-holding for the industry to set up their units and to run them smoothly. For getting all kinds of clearances, we have created various forums, and we also try to minimize the inconvenience for any investor by having online, clearances. For film industry also, we have got a very good policy for creation of any film or web serial or any shooting in the state. We offer them very good incentives. And for them also, for getting clearances and permissions, we have single window online portal-based systems. So these are some of the features.
The next question is for Mr. Sonam Wangchuk. Mr. Wangchuk, if you could kindly share the coordinates of how one pledges to living simply. Apparently, there's a website where one can pledge. So there are a lot of questions related to that. If you could kindly share that with everyone who's listening, we could have few more people taking pledges.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I Live Simply movement started in Ladakh in India, but it is, Can you hear me?
Absolutely, go straight ahead.
Yes, but it is destined for a global SOS message, which helps us high up in the mountains, but also all the others, who will follow to have the impact of climate change like we do with our glaciers. So we didn't want it to become yet another preachy message from some scientists or experts. We wanted it to be a fun thing, especially for young people who will take over the planet and who are the largest in numbers. So we made it into a crowdfunding platform, and crowdfunding, as many of you would know, is very popular among people to contribute to causes. But we thought contribution is not just in money, especially when you contribute to the planet. More than your money, the planet seeks your behavior change. So you do not hurt, rather than your balm or your medicine. It needs a behavior change which doesn't hurt it in the first place, hurt Mother Nature. So therefore, we made it into an I Live Simply crowdfunding campaign where you do not give money to anybody. So no problems of where the money went and all that. You just go and make pledges to live simpler lives, which will be more than money. but to those who understand only the currency of money, the platform converts your action into rupees or dollars. So you could be pledging to go from, cars to bicycles, or walking, better still, from aeroplanes to trains, or from cutting trees or products that involve that to planting trees or going vegetarian. Any of these actions would be equated to so many dollars contributed. So right now, I think it's roughly $17 million or so contributed to this platform of mine. And I always say that I want to be the richest with billions of dollars, ahead of Jeff Bezos, but not in their dirty dollars, in this green, clean dollar, if people can make it. So, which means that people will be behind real changes in their behaviors. These are no different from real dollars worth of service to the planet. Much more than real dollars, these will have an effect on the climate change. I would like to today add another pledge in the list of pledges, would be that I'll be a responsible tourist. I'll be a tourist that promotes well-being of my own and of the people who host me, and I'll follow the kind of tourism that you all promote. That could be a beautiful pledge also, to be responsible and to be healing rather than destructive. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So you have to follow the website ilivesimply.org is what I would say. ilivesimply.org, and you'll see how it is done.
Perfect. Now, a very quick question for Mr. Dradul. Sir, a lot of people from the audience are asking, is Bhutan open for Indian tourists at the moment? So if we can get a quick answer from you.
No, actually, as of now, we have not opened country borders because of the COVID situation. Not only tourists, even for business also. As of now, we are still closed because of the COVID situation.
Thank you.
We are hoping that maybe by end of this year, if situation improves, especially how this situation also progresses in India, that would also have a big impact on our decision here.
True, sir. Thank you so much for that clarification. Mr. Shukla, we'll take one last question from the audience. Arun Abraham from Dealworks in Middle East is asking, what is a likely time frame in which this wellness tourism initiative is likely to reach fruition?
Well, the policy is still is in operation, and anybody interested in coming to Madhya Pradesh and setting up, good wellness center here is most welcome. You just need to reach us out, and we will be there to support you through and through. And as I said in my address, that already there are so many wellness centers operational in the state, especially in the national park surroundings. Some of the state-of-the-art and world-class wellness centers are already there, but we would like to have more and more of them to make Madhya Pradesh as hub of wellness tourism.
Sir, if there is time, let's address this question, which is coming from Amar Kantar. And the gentleman is asking, what are the plans to educate and assist existing farmers to move to medicinal plantations as a step towards holistic wellness?
We have a vertical now in the tourism department called responsible tourism. And in that vertical, we have agri-tourism also. And we are trying to, integrate all the different aspects of sustainable tourism into this responsible tourism vertical. We are going to have rural homestays made. We are going to involve community. We are going to have agri-tourism become a mainstay of the income of villagers by showcasing, organic farming and other ways of sustainable farming. And under that initiative, once we pick up and select the villages, which we are trying to do, say in 100 villages in the next 2 years, those 100 villages will have a focused approach. And there we will like to involve farmers through our agriculture department also, give them inputs, technical as well as other incentives and through the policy. And then we create that village as a model village for the tourists coming from the urban areas to come and just see the most sustainable way of living in the rural arena.
Sir, with your permission now, I will just summarize the entire webinar. Globally, we are seeing a huge surge in demand for wellness and spiritual tourism. And at Madhya Pradesh, we are ready to take advantage of this momentum. And we hope to make Madhya Pradesh a universally recognized wellness destination by prioritizing the message of holistic health, well-being, and addressing all tourists, whether they're domestic or international, to come to this beautiful state, not only to find an escape from their otherwise stressful lives, but also to further their quest towards inner peace. And on this note, I would like to thank our chief guest, the Honorable Chief Minister, the Honorable Tourism Minister, Sushri Usha Thakur ji. Thank you so much for very patiently sitting through all of this, knowing that you have other work also at hand. Mr. Shekhar Shukla, thank you, sir, for being the guiding light in everything that we do. And of course, to Mr. Sonam Wangchuk and Mr. Radul Dorji, thank you and your respective teams for making this happen. And over to Mr. Shekhar Shukla for his final closing remarks.
Thank you, Vinita ji. And in fact, let me thank you for conducting it so nicely. And I'm especially thankful to my Honorable Chief Minister, despite having a very, very hectic schedule today. I must share with all the viewers that today MP is witnessing a vaccination massive drive, Maha Abhiyan. We are vaccinating 10 lakh persons in a single day in more than 8,000 vaccination centers to save our state from Corona third wave. So my Honorable Chief Minister and my Honorable Minister, they are tasked with visiting many vaccination centers and to motivate people to come out in large numbers and to give it a big push so that we can very quickly, save our population from the forthcoming waves which are being anticipated by the scientific community. Despite their limitations on time, they became a part of this particular webinar. Special thanks to both of them because they understand the value of it, and they, under their inspirational leadership, we would like to take Madhya Pradesh to newer heights in this particular area. I'm especially thankful to Mr. Dorji, who very eloquently elaborated upon the policies in a very short span of time, 15-20 minutes, and less is more. He by way of his own address today, he demonstrated how less is more. And we learned a lot from you, Mr. Dorji. In future, we would like to build upon our relationships in continuity, and we would like to have your assistance in guiding us to take wellness tourism to the next stage. I have always been impressed by Mr. Sonam Wangchuk. Ever since I heard him in person when he came to Bhopal in Minto Hall, I was a part of the attendees, and he came in a function, convened by IS Association. And I took his number from one of my batchmates, Sanjay Shukla, who was the organizing secretary at that time. And Sonam ji has always been a great inspiration for all his videos which are circulated. I am always an ardent admirer of the way he puts up the things in the most logical, most simplistic manner. And he's really doing wonders to the cause of sustainability and to the cause of right kind of path towards development. And today I'm especially thankful to him for initiating a new pledge by way of becoming responsible tourist as well as responsible service provider, to adding to the list of his already existing pledges. We all have taken note of ilivesimply.org, and we would like to be benefited in future. Overall, thank you very much for all the streamed speakers, all the esteemed viewers who are connected with us, everybody who's seeing this program on Facebook. This will always be there in our YouTube channel for anyone to follow up. And we are greatly benefited by today's webinar. Thank you very much. Thanks to once and all. And I wish a very, very meaningful yoga day for everyone. Let us make yoga as a practice. Let us not just restrict it to some physical exercises and breathing exercises. This is much more deeper than that. Let's take advantage of this ancient Indian practice and enrich our lives, be more healthy spiritually as well as physically. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And on that note, thank you once again. Look forward to seeing you all on some other panel somewhere. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all. Thank you very much.